Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Salat Naz, and today we will study spirometry by using PowerLab and LabTutor. And our focus will be lung volumes and lung capacities and pulmonary function test. Objectives. By the end of this class, students should be able to define and they will be able to record lung volumes and lung capacities, pulmonary function test, differentiate between obstructive and restrictive diseases on the basis of pulmonary function test. As we know, we have different lung volumes and lung capacities. Of course, this topic is covered in your theory part, but I will just go through very briefly so that we can have a very quick review. Lung volumes and lung capacities. The total volume air contained in the lungs at the end of maximum inspiration is basically divided into four types of lung volumes and four types of lung capacities. So what are these types? First of all, we will look on the respiratory volumes, and then we will look on the respiratory capacities. Lung volumes include tidal volume, inspiratory reserve volume, expiratory reserve volume, and residual volume. As you know, the tidal volume is the amount of air inhaled or exhaled with each breath under resting condition, and its amount is about 500 ml in male and 500 ml in female. Then come to inspiratory reserve volume. This is another type of volume, and its amount is about 3100 ml in male subject and 1900 ml in female subject. Inspiratory reserve volume is defined as the amount of air that can be forcibly inhaled after normal tidal volume inhalation. Expiratory reserve volume is about 1200 ml and in males and 700 ml in females. So there is a big difference between expiratory reserve volume in male subjects and female subjects. And what is expiratory reserve volume? It is the amount of air that can be forcibly exhaled after normal tidal volume exhalation. Means after expiration, how much volume of air you can expire or exhale. Another type of the volume is residual volume. It is usually 1200 ml in male subjects, and its average amount in females is about 1100 ml, and it is defined as the amount of air remaining in the lungs after forced exhalation. So these are the four types of volumes: tidal volume, inspiratory reserve volume, expiratory reserve volume, and residual volume. And then by the combination of these volumes we can have respiratory capacities. So the first one is total lung capacity. Total lung capacity is about 6000 ml in male subject and 4200 ml in female subject. Again, there is a big difference. Total lung capacity is defined as the maximum amount of air contained in the lungs after maximum inspiration effort. So the total lung capacity include tidal volume plus inspiratory reserve volume plus expiratory reserve volume plus residual volume. So we see that the total lung capacity is basically the combination of all the lung volumes, and it is equal to 6000 ml and 4200 ml. Now come to the another type of lung capacity, vital capacity. Vital capacity is about 4800 ml in male subject and 3100 ml in female subject. Vital capacity is the maximum amount of air that can be expired after a maximum inspiration. Maximum amount of air expired after maximum inspiratory effort. So it includes only the tidal volume, inspiratory reserve volume, and expiratory reserve volume. And it should be about 80% of the total lung capacity. And then come to the another type of lung capacity, inspiratory capacity. It is about 3600 ml and in males and 2400 ml in female subjects. The maximum amount of air that can be expired after normal expiration is defined as the inspiratory capacity, and it is the combination of tidal volume and inspiratory reserve volume. So this is the amount that you can inspire um, after normal tidal inspiration. So of course it will include tidal volume plus inspiratory reserve volume, and it will give you total inspiratory capacity. Come to the functional residual capacity. It is about 2400 ml in male and 1800 ml in female. Volume of air remain in the lungs after normal tidal volume expiration. It is equal to expiratory reserve volume plus residual volume. Expiratory reserve volume plus residual volume is giving you functional residual capacity. Means the amount of air that remain in the lungs after normal tidal expiration. So this is the summary of lung volumes and lung capacities. Now move forward. Pulmonary function test. Before I go in detail of the pulmonary function test, one thing I want to mention, because we have different volumes of Guyton book, so it is recommended for the students that you must tally or check the values. These values are very important for exam point of view, right? So it is important that you must have a look again on these values. Maybe there may be minor difference in your Guyton. So try to have a latest edition of the Guyton, and hopefully there will be no big difference, but I recommend you to again have a look on these values. Check before you prepare for the exam. Check these values one more time. Now, pulmonary function tests are basically different methods to access the lung function, such as spirometry, lung volumes by a helium dilution method. Spirometry we will discuss in our coming slides, but lung volumes by helium dilution method is one of the oldest method to measure the lung volumes, and with the help of helium dilution method we can measure not only the all lung volumes like tidal volume, inspiratory reserve volume, expiratory reserve, but also we can include the residual volume. So it is very important. And then come to the blood gases. Blood gases is also one of the tests of the pulmonary function. Exercise test hai, diffusion capacity, this is also the type of the pulmonary function test. Bronchial challenge testing and pulse oximeter, all these are included in the pulmonary function test. These are different types of pulmonary function test, but most of the time we consider spirometry as the easiest and the first test that we recommend for the lung issues is spirometry. This is the most easy. I will have a discussion with you. So the purpose of the pulmonary function test. Purpose of the pulmonary function test is to assess the functional status of the lung. Okay, because the pulmonary function test will relate how much air volume can be moved in and out of the lungs, how fast the air in the lungs can move in and out, how stiff are the lungs and chest wall, a question about the compliance, how the lungs respond to chest physical therapy procedures. So these are the main purpose to find out about the pulmonary function test. And then okay, so here I can show you, this is one of the spirometer. This is another type of spirometer which showing you the graph presentation and some calculations, also some relationship. And this is a simple one. This is also this one, and this one is giving you the values of the pulmonary function test, and this is again giving you some graphical presentation showing you the pulmonary function test results. And then here you can see a tube like structure which is connected with the power lab and spirometer pod. So this setup is basically spirometry setup for the power lab physiology. So spirometry is a procedure to measure an individual's ability to inhale and exhale. This is the procedure. Okay, so in our lab we basically use this equipment which is known as pneumotachometer, which is connected with the power lab and spirometer. Okay, before we proceed further, I would like to discuss something about the spirogram. Basically, when you are going to prepare for your exam, this spirogram is very important. So I have a suggestion for you that you must practice this picture so that you can memorize all the values and all the definition without any problem. And believe me, you will remember for a longer period of time. See here, this line which is going upward is indicating inspiration, and this line which is going downward is indicating you expiration. So inspiration and then expiration, inspiration and then expiration. And the above, this this upward deflection is basically showing you inspiration after normal tidal inspiration, and this downward deflection is showing you expiration. This one this lower part is expiration after normal tidal expiration. This is the normal tidal expiration, and after that line it is expiration, which is basically expiratory reserve volume that you can expire if you try forcefully. So basically this picture is giving you a lot of idea. Like, this is the tidal volume. Okay, whatever volume we get in this graph, upward or downward deflection, it will be the tidal volume. Above the tidal volume is the inspiratory reserve volume, lower the tidal volume is expiratory reserve volume, and this is the residual volume which stay in our lungs. And when we combine tidal volume with the inspiratory reserve volume, we will get inspiratory capacity. And if we combine expiratory reserve volume with residual volume, we get functional residual capacity. And if we combine tidal volume plus expiratory reserve volume, sorry, there is no value such like that. Okay, and then if we combine the inspiratory capacity with the expiratory reserve volume, all will give you the vital capacity. And if we combine inspiratory reserve volume, tidal volume and expiratory volume, from here to here, we will get what we will get vital capacity. So vital capacity is basically the combination of these three volumes, or inspiratory capacity plus expiratory reserve volume. So this can be the combination. And if you see residual volume plus expiratory reserve volume, residual volume and expiratory reserve volume, you will get another value of functional residual capacity. Similarly, this is the total lung capacity, which include inspiratory reserve volume, tidal volume, expiratory reserve volume and residual volume. It will give you the complete total lung capacity. So in this way, if you memorize this diagram, this will give you the combinations and definitions. And one more thing, you can you can write down the values over here, like inspiratory reserve volume, tidal volume, 500 ml, and all these values you can put over here, so that when you practice this diagram you can learn easily. Now we have a few parameters that are important related to pulmonary function test. First one is the forced vital capacity. It is basically the maximum amount of air that can be forcibly and rapidly exhaled following a maximum inspiration. It means that after maximum effort you inspire, and then you forcibly and rapidly exhale. So this amount is basically the forced vital capacity. Usually the vital capacity is equal to forced vital capacity, and the major portion of the forced vital capacity can be exhaled in less than 3 seconds in normal people, but in obstructive diseases it is much more prolonged. 3 seconds. Remember, major portion of the forced vital capacity can be exhaled in less than 3 seconds in the normal people, but obstructive disease it is much more prolonged. So here is the interpretation of the predicted values. If if you get the forced vital capacity equal to 80% or 120%, it is normal. If you get this value 70 to 79% of the vital capacity, okay, 70 to 79% of the vital capacity, then it will show you mild reduction, and if it is less than 50, it will show you severe reduction. So the vital capacity is an important pre-operative assessment tool. So that is why it is important to study this before your operation. Significant reduction in the vital capacity indicate that the patient is at high risk for post-operative respiratory complications. Vital capacity reflect the patient's ability to take a deep breath, to cough, and to clear the airways for excess secretions. Now come to the another parameter which is important for the pulmonary function test. So this is the forced expiratory volume in 1 second. Previously we have forced vital capacity, now here it is forced expiratory volume in 1 second. Now again I am repeating, forced vital capacity is basically we consider up to 3 seconds, so that maximum amount of air is exhaled in 3 seconds. But for the forced expiratory volume we consider in 1 second, that is how much volume of air can be exhaled in 1 second. So volume of air forcefully expired from fully inflation in the first second means, first of all you inspire deeply, and then when you forcefully expire, it is recommended, it is suggested, it is optimistic that the first second will give you the maximum volume. So it is measured in the later, and normal people can exhale more than 75 to 80% of their forced vital capacity in the first second. Thus, the FEV1 to FVC can be utilized to characterize the lung disease. Normal people can exhale more than 75 to 80% of their forced vital capacity in the first second. Okay, but we recommend that we can record up to 3 seconds. So, what we will do, we will have a ratio of FEV1 to FVC, so that we can have the idea about the lung disease. So our interpretation is predicted less like that. If the FEV1 to FVC ratio is giving you more than 75%, then it will showing you that the person is normal. If this ratio FEV1 to FVC is 60 to 75%, will show you mild obstruction, and if it is showing you 50 to 59, it shows moderate obstruction, and less than 49%, it will show you severe obstruction. This is one of the important slide which is indicating you obstructive disease. In obstructive disease, these values can be changed, like total lung capacity will be increased in the obstructive lung disease. You must be amazed about listening about this. FEV1 will be decreased, forced expiratory volume decreased हो जाएगा, and then forced vital capacity will be decreased, FEV1 to FVC ratio will be decreased, peak flow will be decreased, functional residual capacity will be increased, and residual volume will be increased. So basically in the obstructive diseases, we observed that the residual volume is increased. Because the residual volume is increased, functional residual capacity will be increased, and when functional residual capacity is increased, the total lung capacity will be increased. Similarly, for the restrictive lung disease, we observed that the residual volume is decreased, so the functional residual capacity is decreased, and therefore we also observed that total lung capacity is also decreased. So now for the FEV1, it is also decreased. However, in the obstructive disease, it is also decreased. Okay, it is similar to the FEV1. Now come to the forced vital capacity is decreased. Here we will see that forced vital capacity is decreased. In the restrictive disease, FEV1 to FVC ratio is increased, or it become normal. However, Here it is decreased. Peak flow is decreased, functional residual capacity is decreased, and residual volume is decreased. Basically, what is happening in the restrictive lung disease? In the restrictive lung disease, the size of the lungs become smaller as compared to the normal lung. So what happened when you inspired, less amount of air will enter into the lung, and when you expired, less amount of air will be expired. But the ratio when we observe will be more than normal, because the lesser you inspire, the lesser you expire. There is no obstruction in that pathway, but the overall volume of the air will be decreased. That is why the total lung capacity will be decreased. Obstructive disorders are characterized by reduction in the airflow, particularly the forced expiratory volume and the FEV1 to FVC ratio. In the restrictive disorders are characterized by reduction in lung volume. Here the flow is decreased, here the lung volume is decreased. Specifically, total lung capacity is decreased less than 80% of the predicted value. Overall volume is decreased because of the smaller size of the lung. Now here you can see the diseases. This is the normal lung, this is the restrictive lung, and this is the normal lung, and this is the obstructive lung. So what we will see, that overall in the respiratory diseases, we differentiate basically into restrictive one and the obstructive one. Now come to a comparison, just to make you understand, although this is the part of the text, but just to make you understand about the obstructive lung disease and restrictive lung disease, how can you differentiate by pulmonary function test. So this is this is one of the table that was comparing the, for example, FEV1 to FVC ratio is reduced to less than 70% in obstructive disease and is normal or more than 70% in the restrictive disease. But if someone has obstructive plus restrictive problem, then it will be reduced more than 70%. FEV1 value of FEV1 will be reduced to minus 80%, less than 80%. And variable, restrictive, in restrictive disease FEV1 can be variable, and in the F force vital capacity will be normal in the obstructive disease, because the size of the lung has already been increased. However, in the restrictive disease there is decreased functional force vital capacity. Okay, now come to this picture. This is the normal, this is obstructive, and this is restrictive. Okay. First of all, we will compare the normal and the obstructive. In the case of normal person, the FEV1, this is the example. Okay, don't consider it that is just a final one. The values are just for the example. Consider that FEV1 is equal to 40 liter and force vital capacity is 5 liter. So when we take the ratio of FEV1 to FVC, we will get 80% result in a normal person. Now come to the obstructive disease. Force expiratory volume in 1 second is reduced to 1.8 liter and force vital capacity is decreased to 3 liter. Now when we have a ratio of FEV1 to FVC, we will get only 40%. So the 40% reduction occur in the airflow. And the restrictive lung disease, what we will observe, we observe that FEV1 is decreased 2.7 liter and FVC is decreased to 3 liter. Means 2.7 value is near to 3. So when we take the ratio of 2.7 to 3.0, we will get 90%. Are you getting my point? Here there is a 4 divided by 5. There is a big difference. That's why I get the 80%. Still, in the restrictive disease, there is little difference in the force expiratory volume in 1 second and force vital capacity. It means that overall the vital capacity will be decreased. That is why we will get the 90% ratio. 90% ratio. So in this case, we will not only see the ratio, the FEV1 to FVC ratio, but also we will have to look on individual volumes, lung volumes as well as lung capacities, as well as FEV1 and FVC. Another variable is maximum voluntary ventilation, the maximum amount of air inspired or expired during 1 minute. This can be measured and considered as maximum voluntary ventilation. Now we can have age and gender. We know that with the increasing age, the elasticity of the lungs will be decreased. Because of that, the lung volumes and capacities also decrease with increasing age. It is also important to compare the patient's pulmonary function test findings. Important to compare patient's pulmonary functions findings with the pulmonary function test result of normal person for the same age and gender. The lung volumes and the capacities of the male are larger than the lung volumes and capacities of the females. Even this is important point, that even when the males and females are matched for the height and weight, males have larger lung volumes than females. Body height and size. Body size has a tremendous effect on pulmonary function values. The larger the size, the larger will be the values of pulmonary function test. A smaller man will have a smaller pulmonary function test, of course, the results than a man of the same age who is much larger in height. Normal table accounts for this variable by giving predicted pulmonary function data for the male and female for the certain age and height. It means that we can have normal values of pulmonary function test, like for vital capacity, force vital capacity, expiratory volume in 1 second. There will be a pool of all these values according to the age and height. So when we are going to test a person for the pulmonary function test, we can compare the values of the patient with the pool of data of the normal person. So basically we have to evaluate three pulmonary functions: per force vital capacity, force expiratory volume in 1 second, and maximum voluntary ventilation. Requirement for this experiment will be power lab device, lab tutor, pneumotachometer, and human subject. Uh, Procedure, all measurements will be performed by the power lab, and you have to follow these steps in the lab tutor. So I will explain you about how you can do the recording with the help of power lab. From now onward, I will show you the setup of the power lab for the spirometry. This is the equipment that we are going to use for the spirometry, and this is the computer system, and this is these are different equipments that we are going to use. And from here you can see this is the power lab. First of all, we will connect a power cord and a USB cable with the power lab. As you can see, we have connected these two wires with the power lab hardware, and already we have a software in our computer system. So from here we will connect this power lab to the computer system, so that signals will be transmitted from the power lab to the computer system and to the lab tutor software. And this is the power cord to, so that we can supply the electricity to the power lab. Okay, this is the spirometer pod. In the hand you can see this is the spirometer pod, and we will connect this spirometer pod with these tubes which are connected with this flow head. These are two plastic tubings that need to be connected with the spirometer pod, so that when we inspire through this pneumotachometer equipment, these signals will be picked up by this box which is known as spirometer pod. And this is the flow head. Now at one side we will connect this is the clean bore tubing, plastic bore tubing, which are connected with the flow head, and this need to be connect properly, so that there will be no loss of airflow when we perform our experiment. And on the other side we can have mouthpiece filter. First of all, this is the filter, and then we can, at the end we have a mouthpiece. So this is the complete setup. And this is hole which is hold in the hand. This whole tubing is known as pneumotachometer, and basically we will perform our breathing through this tubing which is open at the other end, and there will be no leakage of the air through this tubing. And you know, this need to be put straight so that the air can easily pass in and out. This is the nose piece, so that you can close your nose while recording your practical. Now come to our recording procedure. So this is the whole hardware setup that we are using in our lab. So first of all, what we have to do, we have to connect the mouthpiece with the within the mouth, so that there will be, you can see here, there is a mouthpiece which is arranged such that it will be present in between the teeth, so that there will be no leakage of air through your mouth. So this is the mouthpiece, and this is the remaining part, and there is a sensor in the this is the flow head. So there is a sensor in the flow head that pick the pressure and give it to the spirometer pod, and the spirometer pod then convert these signals into the digital signals that are displayed into the form of graphs on your screen. And this graph is known as a spirogram, that we have already discussed in the previous slides. So here they are making some arrangements for the software, and now you can see the recordings are quite similar with our own recording, that you can see here the normal breathing. So this is the screen for the lab tutor. This is a list of experiments. From here we will go to the experiment respiratory airflow and volume. After clicking, another page will open, and then we will go to the next page. So here the lab tutor is going to start, and it will take some time in opening. So this is how it is connecting with PowerLab. Now this is the setup of the equipment that we are going to use for the spirometry and measure the lung volumes and lung capacities. Here you can see complete setup which consisting of different parts: PowerLab, and this is known as pneumotachometer, and this is the spirometer pod. The first part of pneumotachometer is mouthpiece and filter, then clean bore tubing starts, then there is a flow head which is connected with the plastic tubing, and plastic tubing is connected with the spirometer pod. So this is the setup of spirometry. From now we will go to the next page. At the next page we are seeing zeroing procedure by spirometer pod. This is very simple procedure. We just need to click a single button and it will make our line 0, so that the baseline will come to 0, and we can easily start from the zero recording. It means that the previous recording will be considered as 0. Any wave, any fluctuation will be considered 0, and now we will start from the 0, and then we will have the final results. You can see here I just click the start button to see if the black line is coming on the 0 or not. If it is on 0, then we don't need to do spirometer pod, but if it is on above or below the 0, then we can go to the zeroing procedure. Now come to the next page, which is known as volume correction. Volume correction is basically due to the difference in the inhale and exhale air. You know, the exhale air is humidified and its temperature is also rise, so the volume that we expire is more than the volume that we inspire. For that purpose we perform the zeroing procedure. For the zeroing procedure, what we will do, we will record the normal breathing for 1 minute, and then after 1 minute we will exhale forcefully, and then continue for few seconds the normal breathing, and then stop it. So you can see here what we are going to do for the volume correction. Focus on the procedure. It will be better if you see the video in the full screen, so that you can see exactly what's going on during recording. You can see here we are recording a normal breathing pattern for 1 minute. and after 1 minute we will exhale forcefully. So it is continue for 1 minute. So this is continue for 1 minute. Just after completion of the 1 minute, we exhale forcefully and stop our recording. Now we will click at the timeline so that it will select the whole recording and it will give you a value in the lower panel. You can see here you can see some value in this box, and when we will apply this value, our volume correction will be finished. That is, the inspired air and expired air volume for the tidal volume will be equal. So this is the first step for the recording. In every step we will have to do the zero pot button so that any fluctuation will be cancelled. So this is the exercise 1. In the exercise 1 we are going to record the lung volumes and lung capacities. We will have many experiments related to spirometry, but this is the simplest one that we teach to our first year MBBS students. So here I will show you how we can record it. First of all, we will click the zero pot button again so that the recording will be start from the zero, and we will have the exact value of the lung volumes and lung capacities. Here I want to mention that the values will be higher, slightly higher than the normal values, because we are going to perform this practical voluntarily, and consciously we are inspiring and expiring. So the values will be slightly higher than the normal values. That is, the normal tidal, which is 500 ml, will be more, maybe 600 or 650, because we are consciously breathing. So first of all we will record the normal breathing for 1 minute so that we can have a normal rate of breathing. So just after the normal tidal breathing, what we will do, we will inhale deeply as much as possible, and then we will exhale as much as possible, so that we will have all the lung volumes and capacities after recording. So this is the recording going on. So we have to wait for 1 minute so that we can have a complete 1 minute recording. I again tell you that you will see this video in full screen. It will be good if you see in the laptop, because each and everything will be clear. So I am waiting for the completion of 1 minute recording. It will give you the rate of breathing. And just after normal breathing, deeply inhale and exhale forcefully. And then stop the recording. So we have stopped the recording, and now this is the stage for analysis. So from this graphical recording we will analyze our data. Here we can see the volume not the flow. In the previous page we have flow and volume both, but we have to calculate the lung volumes and capacity, so it will show you only the lung volumes. I am removing all the previous values so that you can have the idea. Only remaining here is the residual volume. The residual volume will be, I will show you how to calculate the residual volume. So first of all, we will have a number of breathings that we will count it from the recording. So here we observe that the number of breathings in 1 minute are, here I am counting these values. It is about let me check how many breaths per minute are recorded. So here we put this value, normal rate of breathing that we observed through our recording, and then for the tidal volume, what we will do, we will place this marker. This will serve as a marking point marker at the lower side of the recording. I just going to zoom it for you. So we will place the marker at the lower part of the wave like structure that we record for inspiration and expiration, and we will click at the peak. So it will give you the normal tidal value, and we will move this value into the tidal volume. And then for the expiration, for the inspiratory reserve volume, means the volume that is above the normal inspiration, it will be the normal inspiratory reserve volume. So we have to place a marker at the peak of the normal tidal inspiration and then click at the peak of the deep inspiration. So it will give you the extra amount that we inhale after normal tidal inspiration. So here you can see. Now the second step will be, it will give you the value of expiratory. I think we are going to, yeah, expiratory reserve volume. For the expiratory reserve volume, we will place the marker at the lower side, because the lower part is representing the maximum expiration, and then we will click the lower part of the maximum expiration. So it will give you the amount of air that exhale after normal expiration, that is expiratory reserve volume. So by putting all the lung volumes, automatically lung capacities will be calculated. Here we have to calculate the residual volume from the pool of the data, and we have to put the values of age, gender and height, then it will give you value of residual volume. So here finally we will have the value of residual volume from the pool of data. Now we can have the residual capacity and total lung capacity from our pool. So in this way we measure the lung volumes and lung capacities by using PowerLab.